Hello, friends. I am Chevy. Welcome to my shed. How are you today? How's life in your world? How's things where you are? I hope it's fantastic. Everything here is great. This week, trying something different. We're doing 5 days of 5 things to get to know me, or 5 things that influence me, or something like that. And today we're talking movies. We're starting it off with movies because I feel like movies have probably had the most profound impact on me over my life. They've been the thing that have inspired me to create art more than anything else. And so these are not my top five. If you were to ask me my favorite movie, my default answer is on this list, and I'll tell you that when I get to it. But is that really truthful? Like my favorite movie, when of all time, I don't really have one of those. I have lots of bits and pieces of things. So 5 movies to get to know me. I will say, starting off with these 5 things is uh, this is dark. This is dark. This is weird. This is esoteric. These movies, if you look them up and watch them, might change your opinion of me. But I will say that I view all of these movies taken together as a collection of lessons in filmmaking, not necessarily as expert storytelling like these are 5 things that inspired me artistically, and I usually look at movies that way. Very rarely do I look at a movie and go, "Wow, that was really inspiring for the story or for the acting or whatever." It's usually the presentation. I'm usually there to see moving art. All right. So, right off the bat is a movie called Begotten. This is from E. Edmund Murheeg. He did a movie called Shadow of the Vampire, which was a really interesting take on the Dracula story. And I saw them talk about this movie in like the director's commentary of that movie, and I immediately sought it out. Begotten is a very dark, very twisted, very there's some huge trigger warnings in that movie. There is it's not yeah, it's not for everybody. It is a silent film, meaning that there are sounds, but there's no dialogue. There are characters that make noises. There are there are atmospheric noises. It is a very bizarre film. There is no narrative. The only narrative that exists is for you to figure out what this movie is about, to form your own opinion of it. And the director decided to try to make it look like something that came out of a clay pot that was alongside the Dead Sea Scrolls. Like he legitimately and intently scratched the film and did things, treated the film in a way to make it look aged and old. And I think it's fantastic. It is a beautiful piece of art. It is, again, there is no narrative. I mean, there is, but it's up to you to determine what the narrative is for you. That movie's Begotten. Second movie, very similarly, is also a no dialogue, not necessarily a silent film, but a no dialogue film. It's called The Secret Adventures of Tom Thumb by Dave Borthwick. This is a stop motion film that combines traditional clay puppets with live characters and live actors. And so these live actors are acting in stop motion, and it is wildly interesting. It's fascinating. The way this movie was shot, some of the techniques of the stop motion were just mind blowing. The way they pulled off some things, it's a beautiful movie, and yeah, again, so my first more traditional narrative film, and a film that I will classically cite as my favorite film of all time, is A Clockwork Orange from Stanley Kubrick. I love all of Stanley Kubrick's works. I think we've talked about this. But A Clockwork Orange is a movie that caused me to have a lot of internal reflection. I saw a lot of myself in the character, in the main character, and not necessarily like sexual violence, all that sort of stuff, but just I saw maybe a lot of my own predatory or manipulative nature, and I at a young age I saw that, and I worked to work that out of myself. It scared me a little bit, and so this movie, maybe more than the others on this list, like literally impacted my life. It really made me take a hard, long look at myself and figure out, like, if being that character, if being Alex was what I wanted to be with my life. So that's a Clockwork Orange. Another movie that made me question reality and everything else is Blue Velvet from David Lynch. David Lynch is far and away my favorite director of all time. I love his just bizarreness, and Blue Velvet is fascinating. It's like the first movie that I have seen that's told in different timelines and different perspectives. David Lynch is the only director I've ever seen that uses different actors to portray the same character, but maybe it's not, but maybe it is, and maybe this is an alternate reality. We're not really sure. You figure it out for yourself. Fascinating movie. Blue Velvet. And lastly, I picked, I had a hard time picking a fifth movie. I could pick thousands, but I settled on El Mariachi from Robert Rodriguez. If you don't know who that is, I question reality. Robert Rodriguez did El Mariachi is a movie he did for like, I want to say it was around $10,000 of his own money when he was a kid, like a in college or fresh out, whatever, like young adult, and it is mind-boggling. The special effects and the acting and the camera moves and it is a masterpiece in low budget filmmaking that doesn't look low budget. It kind of got into the same, people talked about it in the same vein as Clerks. Clerks looks like a home movie compared to El Mariachi. El Mariachi looks like a studio film, but it was done for like, I think it was more like $20,000 or $30,000. It was done for practically nothing, and it's phenomenal. And Robert Rodriguez is the master of making the every dime count when he's shooting. So there you go, seven. It's 7 minutes. 5 movies to get to know me, or 5 movies that had an impact, or 5, I don't know. These are 5 things I recommend, or something. Again, I could name hundreds, from Back to the Future and Indiana Jones and Star Wars and maybe even The Lord of the Rings, even though I don't have a deep emotional connection to them. But there's tons of things like Driving Miss Daisy, or 50 First Dates, or The Truman Show, Happy Gilmore. Like, there's so many things that are out there that I could say, yeah, I could pick all of these. But I think that these 5 maybe give you maybe not necessarily so much of an insight into me, but if I was a reviewer and I rated these 5 movies highly, this might tell you the type of thing that I enjoy. There you go. What's your favorites? Put them in the comments. Thank you for being here as always. Thank you for liking, commenting, subscribing, being amazing friends, wonderful people. I really appreciate you. And I'll see you again tomorrow. Today's word you should know to sound smart is soi disant. It is an adjective meaning self-styled. A soi disant ladies' man, Gary, focus was always on his next conquest. Soi disant. SOI-DISANT. That's an interesting French word. I got nothing to add to that.